All right, see if we get any questions here this morning. Got a few more right now. Dennis, good morning. I just able to get online. Have I taken a SPY Super System trade today? I took one right here, and I took 10 cents, basically 10 cents on the trade, just at one candle. I'm just not going to mess with any of this. This is completely non-directional right now. I do like the T2104, which is the cumulative volume index. Has been bullish all morning, but it's starting to drift down right now. So my long bias, or very short-term long bias, is gone away right now. So the T2104 is coming down with the SPY. So right now I'm just completely neutral. I don't want to mess around with the market at all. I don't know that it's going to be any direction. Again, it's all news driven. This is all news driven. This big gap up this morning came from the news over the weekend about some exceptions on tech equipment, chips, computers, smartphones, all those kind of things that caused the market to move up strong this morning of over 2%, and it's basically given back about half of it, and it's just chopping around. The Chinese stocks were pretty strong here this morning. Baba was pretty strong, but moving sideways now. JD as well. AT&T had a nice little run up this morning. Now just moving sideways. So there was just no direction right now. So it's really a crapshoot out there. And to me, right now, as I've been saying for a while, with the news-driven market, you got to be very careful, and you want to just take very small risks, if any. Shy, non-lethal launcher gas. Who do you use them on? Hey, you can use them on anybody. I mean, the whole idea is they're not going to kill somebody, but if somebody comes in, they disable them pretty quickly. They have pellets. If you can look on their line online, you can see them. They have pellets. They come out at about 370 feet a second, and they hurt like heck. But they also put out pepper spray when they hit, even if it's close to the person, and they disable them. A lot of police departments using them now to disable domestic disputes and things like that. Jimmy, you tried a SPY Super System trade for MSTR? Bring up MSTR. Into the VWAP and the Heikin flat candle when the SPY was at the VWAP. Got $5 profit with the shares, but it was a smart decision, Dave, or was that too risky? You know, everything's risky this morning. But you know, when you're taking a trade like that right off the VWAP, your downside risk is pretty minimal. But you know, we try to trade very high probability trade setups. All right, so you know, I can see where you would take this off this right here, and you made $5 on it. Then that's I mean, it's good. I mean, it was a good move right here. But you see, it's coming right back with the SPY again. But I don't think it was. I'm not going to say it was a bad trade. It was probably it was a well constructed trade. It's just that the market's not giving us any kind of direction right now. So you have to be very quick on these things. But yeah, I think it was fine. I think it was fine. I mean, again, if you want to trade like that, but you've got to do them right at the VWAPs, and you've got to take quick profits on days like this. And for most traders, this is just not a good day to be trading at all right now. Again, because you could get news at any moment that could come out and pop the market or drop the market, and you're at the whim of the news. Gordon, Buffett likes Siri if you still want to consider an investment. Yeah, you know, I don't. It's down pretty hard. Siri's way down from where its high. High was around $80. It's trading at 20.59. I don't invest in individual stocks. I used to. I don't. I used to do dividend stocks, and then I read covered calls against them before I started trading. Now I just invest my money's in Vanguard. I put them in Vanguard dividends funds and I've had really good returns between 12 and 15% a year in that. So that's where I leave it. I don't mess around with actually trying to buy stocks right now. That's just my own methodology. I don't have time to try to manage the things. If you're taking them long term, you know, are there going to be good ones? Who knows? Are we going into recession? Who knows? I mean, the likelihood of a recession this year is probably increasing. Are we going to be able to get stocks cheaper than what they were in this big drop down? I don't know. I have no idea. That's why I don't give investment advice. And a lot of the people that give you investment advice, you listen to on the radio or read articles, they don't know any more about this than you do. Good morning, Mellow Mushroom. Lucille, what would I mentioned we're in a news-driven market. What would be the indication that we return back to technicals? Well, when they actually start to hold, and when we're not getting this crazy news. Once there is some sort of a plan in place, one way or another, the news will become less important. But I don't see that happening very quickly. I think it's going to last a while. Walmart's showing some nice strength. Market's starting to show a little downturn. Hello. Yeah, Walmart's up. Walmart's not bad. Walmart's above the 50 and the 100-day moving average, and it broke above a horizontal line. Walmart's is a pretty good long right now. I mean, but listen, with the tariff news, there's just no telling. You know, Walmart imports a lot of stuff from China, and as do a lot of stores. So this is all because we're pausing the tariffs. Is that what happens if they go right back again? I don't have any idea. That's why this is a news-driven market. I don't see it changing anytime soon. Is it normal to not have the confidence to pull the trigger today? Absolutely. Same as for Walmart. Yeah, Walmart looks good, but is it normal not to want to pull the trigger and have basically be too gun shy today? Yeah, sure it is, and it's probably a good instinct right now. This is garbage price action. What I mentioned this morning was too that it's important to understand how important it is to learn the process first. Learn the process of the criteria that we use here. And it goes beyond this, obviously. There's more technicals involved. But you've got to learn to make sure to check your daily chart before you take a trade, unless it's going to be just a scalping type trade. Make sure the daily chart's bullish if you're going long, bearish if you're going short. Make sure your SPY Super System internals, the indicators here are giving you the direction you want. You want on a daily chart, you want the current time frame momentum here, multi-time frame momentum here. You want them to be lined up, either green and blue for long or red and yellow for short. For scalp trades, you want to trade just off of this for quick 5-minute trades. Using the 5-minute chart, you just trade off the current time frame momentum indicator here. And you can see how choppy this is right now. That's why this is not a good day for doing that right now, at least right now. It's not good to do that. Also, how did I get down there? So again, and look for relative strength and relative weakness. This is really important as well. If you're looking for stocks that are to trade long today, by any chance, you watch the SPY. You see what the SPY is doing? Not much of anything. See Walmart's going up, while SPY is going sideways and down. That gives you relative strength. These stocks are going to outperform. Doesn't mean they're going to do great, but they're going to outperform the market for the most part. And would also want stocks with relative weakness, on stocks that are dropping hard, and when the market's moving sideways, then those become good shorts. You can see the market's coming down a little bit, but Meta's coming down even faster right through the pivot point here. And then you've got to focus on your VWAP and your 15 on the 5-minute, the pivot point, and then you've got to look on the daily chart. You've got to be always got to be looking at, again, if you look at like Walmart here, right? Here's the Walmart setup. Here's the 200-day moving average right here. Is the 100 is the blue line, the 50 is the red line. It's above that today. There's a horizontal support line right there, a horizontal resistance line that it went through. It's a good long. For right now, Walmart is a good long. It's got the daily chart bullish. It's above all the resistance levels. It's outperforming the market to the upside. So if you're going to trade something long, this would probably be something to try. But again, the market is just all over the place right now. So, but those are the criteria they want to go through, and then we have to have patience. And the key here is to learn and internalize the criteria that I call a process. This is the process we go through to find high probability trade setups. And if you learn the process and focus on the process and trade the process, right, trade those criteria, the results will come. The profits will come. If you're focusing on the profits and or losses initially, if that's where your focus is, then you're doing it backwards, and you're not going to become consistently profitable if you're just following your P&L. It's just not going to happen, because the thing that gives us profitability is trading the correct stocks with the correct setups, and you've got to go through those criteria and learn those criteria first. Yeah, Gordon, that's a good point. Bullish still like Siri, despite his $365 billion cash position. He sold a lot of stuff off recently. And you know, a lot of that could be because of his age. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. But listen, we're not investors here. We're traders. There's a big difference between an investor and being a trader. Warren Buffett's an investor. These are long-term positions they're taking. We're trading. We're trading. We're traders. I don't really care about the fundamentals of a company. I'm looking at the technicals on it. And when you run into a news-driven market like we have now, the technicals and the fundamentals don't even matter much. It's what the news is doing to it. Jimmy, on the SPY Super System intraday option trades, do I use 0 DTE or this Friday's expiration? Now, what I would do if you were using for the SPY or the Qs, or any of the futures, I use current 0 DTE up till about lunchtime, and then after lunchtime I switch to 1 DTE. I'll switch to the next day. Not that I'm going to stay in the trade overnight. I'm not, generally speaking. I'm going to be taking it off. But what I do is I switch to 1 DTE after lunchtime, because the time decay is going to accelerate in the afternoon, and that gives me an extra. It cuts down on my time decay loss on that position if the stock goes sideways or moves down. So I switch over after lunch to 1 DTE. I don't go out to Friday on them, no. Too expensive. WMB AON looks good. You said it. Is it a good entry if the market finds support? Yeah, it's a decent setup. It's coming off of a deep low. It bounced off the 200 last week. Here it is right here, AON. All right, insurance. Get the resistance right here. This 50-day moving average right there. That's the next resistance. You notice that it almost matches exactly with the top of this red candle right here that I had pink on one of my TC2000. I color these candles based on Bollinger Band expansion, which basically is a compression. So if I get a pink candle to the downside, it means it's bearish, and it's a compression break to the downside. Blue candles are compression breaks to the upside. But you can see what you've got here. You've got resistance right there. So that's what you're looking at, around 389 for support, for a resistance level. Is that enough? Is that enough room to take this position? You know, it's a good question. I don't know. We look over here. We look at the 5-minute chart right here. This shows the SPY today, which is this little thin red and blue green line bouncing around. See, it's coming down. So it's got relative strength. It did fall down with the market here, but it's got decent relative strength. But the upside is limited. That's the danger with something like this. When we looked at Walmart on the daily chart, you know, you got more room because you're above all these moving averages, and that also becomes your stop right down there on Walmart. So, you know, my preference would be Walmart over AON if you were thinking to go long. Right now, I'm not thinking about doing anything. The market's not doing anything. Still sitting just below the VWAP on the SPY. You really like Byrna, BYRN, Ali. Yeah, it's got good relative strength right now. 2082 is the resistance level on it. It's got a high volume resistance level at 2082, about 60 cents higher. Nice setup though. Spy coming back down here now. Very tough day to try to trade. Really, really difficult. I took one SPY trade and made 10 cents. That's it. This is just a lot of chop going on here after this nice gap up. Again, Walmart looks pretty good. Starting to come down a little bit. Google looked really nice, but it's starting to fade a little bit here as well. Bitcoin stocks were strong. They're pulling back a little bit. Really, this is really tough trading conditions. You're not getting any kind of follow through from most of the trades. His summit, which was nice this morning, beautiful move up, just compressing sideways right now. Very difficult to even take any kind of any straddles or strangles because the premium options are so high right now. It ends up costing more than it should to try to get into a straddle or a strangle. SPY coming in. Tesla coming in here now. Daily chart kind of a mess right now, but Tesla breaking down below the pivot point. Gone down, was gapped up this morning nicely. Hit a high this morning of 261.80. So we're down about 13 points from the high.
We are seeing a number of selling in the markets, still green on the day, but at lows of the day. With the Dow up spot 5.4%, S&P up spot 7.4%, Nasdaq up spot 7%. Lows of the day.
I would recommend if you're going to do anything. Whoops. I would recommend if you're going to do anything here on any kind of trades, long or short, if you got the ability, you probably want to, instead of just taking a straight puts and calls right now, take a debit spread if you have a directional feel for it, because it'll be a lot cheaper. Now you're not probably going to get the move that you would get if you were in straight puts and straight calls, but you'll be protecting yourself a little bit more. Tesla looks good to the downside. It's below the pivot point. Will it stay down there? Who knows? But stocks like that are really good for debit spreads, especially with premiums inflated as much as they are right now. Gemma, that was a scary bark. That's my 8-pound dog. I have a Papillon, a rescue dog, a Papillon rescue. Been with us about 5 or 6 years now, and really a sweet dog. Loves my wife, and but he's definitely a 4-legged doorbell. Yeah, and market's still trading inside of the that big huge candle from last Wednesday. We're still trading. We're near the top of it, but we're still trading inside of it. Still trading inside of the candle. Here's the SPY right now on the daily chart. Here's that big huge candle from last Wednesday. Tariffs on, tariffs off. This is what happens. Big move up, then we gap down. Put in almost an engulfing candle here and a gap up this morning and right back down to the 15. Sitting right on the 15, almost right near the top of this. We got resistance above here. Fairly strong resistance right here. The market is really not doing anything. You can see the volume's pretty low as well. You know, and you have to remember, with a market like this, again, we're looking for high probability trade setups, right? We're trading the best. So when you have a market that's doing this, the one element, which is the market direction, is it's gone. You don't have the market to lean on. So everything else has to overwhelm the market as far as what's going to go on. And the difficulty right now is the technicals that you normally use for trading, which I mean that's what I use for everything right now, can be completely blown away by just one news event. So the market is not using technicals the way it usually does, because news always overrides technicals. That, you know, a prime example of that is when earnings come out. Earnings don't respect technicals at all. It's all based on the news that what the earnings produce. So but right now we've got that whole environment in the entire market right now. It's all dependent on news. Funny, Ellie. The bark is much more lethal. Yeah. Gordon, you have to move to smaller time frames and trade small size with bigger stops if desired. Yeah, if you want to, but the thing is, when you going with bigger stops, of course, you're giving yourself some more time. The problem is we're not doing anything. We're just chopping around. You're trading with minimal advantage here. You need to have a decent sized edge. We don't have much of an edge right now. If you can find some stocks that are really outperforming, then either way, then yeah, those would work all right. But again, you see what Walmart's doing, just chopping around here. Meta, which is a decent short, still chopping around. This is a very, very tough market to trade, and for most traders, this is not a time to be trading. 60 to 7 on the range. ES isn't a small range to you. No, if you're trading the futures, but again, you got to be pretty quick on these things. If you're using the futures and you're using MES, then at least you've got a smaller risk. But that's scalping. I mean, that's all scalping. We can't. Typically we try to trade longer term. Those are not long-term trades, Gordon. There's nothing wrong with them. I mean, if you're adept at doing that, you can do very well. But yeah, the range itself isn't the problem right now. It's the non-direction that's the problem, and lack of follow through. What's my opinion on AHCO. Adept Health. Pretty bearish for sure. You see for some support resistance levels, huh? This is what I've got on it. AHCO. Here it is here. This is the next support level. Down about, right down here. Not too far away really. And then there's another one down here. Another support level further down. It goes back all the way back over here. If you notice, there's quite a bit of a void in here. If it can get through here, that's a big gap right there. So, yeah, I mean, I like a short. It's decent short. Just you've got to watch your support levels on this thing, but it's a decent short.
Members post bilateral.
SPY still up about 0.6% right now. Still green, but you can see where the gap is right here. It's still in the gap. Q's is all inside the gap.
Posting in the news desk is a
Right.
link to President Trump's bilateral meeting with El Salvador.
Got a little bit of room still to the downside to fill the gap. You got nothing cascading up here for the most part here this morning. You can see that it shows you how weak the market is right now. Cumulative index T2104 has turned bearish just in the last 3 or 4 candles. NVIDIA turned red on the day. Whoops. NVIDIA is red on the day now. Bounced up on the news over the weekend with the exceptions in the phones and electronic components and chips. Gapped it up nicely, but right now it's right back down through the gap, coming right to the pivot point here. Tesla's still below the pivot point as well. Harry, you took the MSTU strangle. Yeah, I mean, it's
remember seeing the LVMH
ATR $1.16 cost 65. Yeah, I mean the price is excellent on it.
We're gonna see a little volume downtick in EPR.
MSTU also coming down pretty hard. That's another double leverage, 2x long in the MSTR for a strangle. It had these last week. Yeah, that's I mean, those are decent trades when you get 2x, as long as you get a move, as long as you're not paying a lot for it. You're in the money on the put side. Yeah, very good. Again, everything is much riskier than normal, even on the straddles and strangles right now. With this market, everything is riskier than normal. But at least straddles and strangles, you don't care which way it goes. But if you get in the money on one side, I would lock it in pretty quick if it starts to move against you. Again, I don't feel like I have to trade today, so I mean, I never feel like I have to trade. I'm waiting to see. SPY coming in here pretty hard right now. Tesla coming down. Watching to see if the SPY actually turns red today. Q's only up 0.1% right now. It's a pretty decent sell-off after that big gap up this morning. Yeah, that's true, Ari. When you bet on MSTU, it's a double leveraged MSTR, which turns the leverage BTC, which is Bitcoin. You've crossed into risky territory. Yeah, all of these things that are leveraged are risky. But you know, if they work in your favor, you can do better than you would on a normal one. But right now, everything's a big risk. I mean, the market's selling off pretty hard right now. But you know, all it takes is a couple of comments out of a news conference, and the thing can turn around and head back up again. There's just no telling what's going to happen. Spy coming in here.
On CARA, and I'm thinking what the reverse stock split. That's on CARA, Cara Therapeutics.
Ali pointing out IWM definitely the weakest today. Yeah, IWM's red again. It's closed the gap and continued down. IWM red. SPY still slightly green. Here's the IWM coming down pretty hard. Triple Qs also coming down, but you know, it's red, green, red, green, red, green. It's still, even though it's coming down pretty hard, it's pretty choppy. So again, if you're in these trades, as was pointed out by Gordon, you've got to take small positions and give yourself a little bit wider room if you want to, if you actually want to trade this stuff. The EXC's been pretty strong today. Well, 5 minutes to 12. Market trying to find some support. Been pretty poor here this morning. Nice gap up, a lot of compression, and now we're breaking back down again with a lot of red and green mixed here. Much bigger red candles than green candles, but still very mixed. We switched over to Hikanachi on here. You can see the downtrend here. It's pretty substantial. Here's your flat tops on the candlesticks. Got a couple of wicks here. This is a Hikanachi continuation to the downside. Flat top, flat top, flat top, flat top, flat top. So this is a downward trend, even though you're getting a lot of green mixed in. Walmart holding its own here, just kind of moving sideways. IBM pulling back. Google also pulling back a little bit. And it's still pretty weak down below the pivot point here. Amazon also weak. Apple is still green, but fairly steady drop from the high on the gap up. SPY trying to bounce. Again, very, very difficult trading conditions here with this market. Get big gap up. Anybody got long, got trapped. And now people are coming in short, and we'll see what happens here. Again, this is a very trapping market. It's news driven. You can't depend on your technicals or your fundamentals, or your fundamentals for sure you can't right now. And the technicals are very suspect with this news driven market. Any kind of news event can send the stocks, and a lot of stocks, up and down very quickly, especially in ones that are impacted by tariffs, which is most companies, especially the techs. Chinese stocks were strong this morning, kind of flattening out right now. It's Baba. JD heading back down a little bit. PDD also selling off a little bit. Q filled the gap, Gordon. Thank you very much. Yep, Q filled the gap and bounced. back up 90 cents right now, but it pretty much filled the gap. So just about right to it. Now it's bouncing. Don't make me choose how do I use pivot points. Basically, if I don't enter them, I don't enter on the pivot points, but if I'm in a trade, the pivot points become a level I watch to see if I want to exit. And I mean that they offer really good support and resistance levels. You know, if you're in Tesla short here, when it comes down here, you have to watch it when it gets here. Now, once it breaks below it, then you can just use it as a stop for your profitable position if it goes up and goes back through it again. But I don't trade off of them. I trade off the VWAP and the 15. This is mostly what the institutions are using, but that's what I use this for. Basically a support resistance level to make me watch that trade to see if it's going to find support or resistance at it, and if it does, I then exit the trade. Okay, that make it clear. Again, watching the SPY and the Qs to see if they go red. SPY's still up 0.4%. Q's up 0.12% right now. IWM Russell 2000 is red, down 0.4%, but trying to bounce right here. It went through its gap fill and is trying to bounce up. Q's went right to the bounce fill, as Gordon pointed out. That is the gap fill on the Q's right there. You can see it down there. Right to the bottom of that candle. That was Friday's close right there. A little bit of bounce now coming off of the indexes. Tesla's showing a little bit of a bounce here. Markets is trying to bounce right now. Pretty much closed the gap on the Qs, went through the gap on the IWM. The SPY didn't quite fill the gap. It didn't quite go red, but it's got close. Now we're bouncing. Again, if you're short, you probably need to cover right now.
remember circulation of a tweet out there in regards to ML Money Line. I'm suing payday lenders Moneyline and Daily Pay for taking advantage of tens of thousands of New Yorkers with illegal high interest loans.
Market's still coming in pretty hard here now. It's very close to going red. Qs are red. So red for the day in the Qs, red for the day in the IWM. SPY looking to go red here in a minute.
Commentary by Trump says we'll do tariffs, pharmaceutical tariffs in a not too distant future.
That's pharmaceutical. Trump says they're going to do pharmaceutical tariffs in the not too distant future. So hold on to your hats here. We're going to start getting news now, and here goes the market. Guys are coming in. Johnson & Johnson coming in. Brad had a nice day today. Johnson & Johnson so far. Regeneron coming in. USAR is a decent long setup. Options are pretty expensive, but $11 calls on this aren't too bad. Spreads are wide though, very wide spreads. Right now the $11 calls are 110 by 225, so kind of crazy. I mean, they got 135 of intrinsic, so if you can get in for $1.50 or $1.60 or so, that's pretty good. Very strong here though, USAR. It's rare minerals, rare
Commentary
earth.
by Muddy Waters on NOVA. Says the Forbes story on Nova is incredible. We have long asserted the run, RUN, Sun Run, inflates the numbers of systems it has deployed in its reports to investors. Looks like somebody caught Nova red-handed. Coming from Muddy Waters.
Let's see how USAR is holding up with the market coming in, holding up pretty well. Tesla still coming in. Google coming in. Watching USAR. I do like this long. But again, this is really a treacherous market here. Obviously, this has got good relative strength compared to the rest of the market, compared to what the SPY is doing. If I bring it over on the 5-minute chart where I can see my SPY and stock together is Tesla, you can see Tesla's get pretty weak right now. But USAR has been, as the market has been pulling down here, you can see the down drift in the market. You see the stock holding at worst holding neutral and moving up. That's a pretty good relative strength stock right there. So Walmart's doing. Walmart's still holding up pretty well. Google starting to fade here a little bit now, and Meta has been weak all day, still weak. Tesla too, but the market's pretty weak right now, so a lot of stocks are going to be weak. But again, I like USAR as a long. The options are tough. I don't even know if you can buy the stock. I saw that it was restricted, but I'm not sure. But calls in the thing, $11 calls expiring the end of the week, probably not bad for a day trade. You know, you might get 20-30 cents profit out of it. Again, the spreads are really wide on it. Right now they're 185 by 240, but there's a decent amount of volume in this thing. 660 contracts. The 12s have 922 contracts on the long side. Only has monthlies, by the way, and this is monthly expiration. This closes on Thursday, since Friday's a holiday, which means you can do straddles and strangles on anything today, because they'll be closing on Thursday. So monthlies and weeklies all close at the same time this week. About 12:18 here right now. Gonna get some lunch pretty soon. WMB, you're asking me about the SPY current finding support. With that break to the upside, break of compression to the upside, be a good long. I wouldn't be taking anything long here with the 15 and the VWAP right here. I mean, you theoretically you could take a long if you've got the setup, but you don't have the setup. Look at the momentum here. The momentum is red. It's pinned way down here. You don't have any momentum. By the time you get some momentum, you're going to be back up above the VWAP, above the 15, moving up toward the VWAP. Get a little bit of room in there if this turns blue, but that's a very tight squeeze to try to take that profit.
Watching GM as well as Ford. That's Trump in the news desk. Trump speaking.
Trump saying he's looking to help the car companies. This is the kind of, we're just going to keep getting news like this now for a while on these tariffs. Good news, bad news, tariffs are coming, that's horrible. We're going to try to help, that's good. What does that mean? You know, the market doesn't like uncertainty. We're going to help the car companies. There's no details about how you're going to do that. So again, the algos are going to love it. They bounce on something like that. But this is just a very, very difficult market. Again, I took USAR. That's it. I did take a SPY Super Systems this morning for just a quick 10-cent gain. I'm out of that. I'm not going to mess around with those right now. There just isn't enough profit to justify the risk involved here. Get some questions here. Sorry, I missed some here. William sold an NVIDIA 112 puts, 415 with this week's expiration. Yeah, you're happy to buy NVIDIA at that level. Yeah, a lot of people doing that, selling puts at a lower level on these stocks that they want to own, and because you can bring in big premium right now. But you got to be prepared to take ownership of the stock. Yeah, that took some of that bull yesterday. After your mother finger, nice trade when you made $45 there. Share pretty nice. Grab shares of USR. Those spreads are crazy. Yeah, the spreads are pretty crazy. Microsoft won't let you buy shares, but Trady will not allow me to buy. Microsoft, Morgan Stanley. Who's MS? Will let you buy shares, but Trady will not. It says restricted. Yeah, I don't know why that is. Ali, I took options on USAR, not USAR, USAR.
Remember the Trump commentary has not included speaking at the White House?
Oh, Morgan Stanley. Okay, gotcha, William. That's MS. Yeah, they probably have, they've got a little more flexibility than some of the brokerage houses doing that. Again, I'm not planning on staying in this very long. I'm getting a little bit of a bounce in the market off of some comments out of the White House, but we'll see. You can buy shares on Interactive Brokerage. Very good. Yeah, he is with JPM, William. Harry's with JPM. Again, very risky market to be trading right now. Again, I do have USAR. I took to take some options in it. I took the $11 calls expiring this week. This thing's moving pretty nicely here today. It's up 54%. So I'm going to give it a little bit of time. SPY just kind of chopping around here now, down to the low. Did turn red for the day. Now it's back to green for the day. Big gap up and just a mess right now. T2104 starting to bounce back up again after having bullish morning. Now it's pretty choppy now. All right, coming up about 12:25. I'm going to get lunch here in a second. So we'll go ahead and end the YouTube feed. I want to thank everybody on YouTube today for being in here. A lot of folks in there today. Appreciate you joining the room and watching it for a while. Again, you can always become a member of the SPY Super System Options Room and Alert Service just by going to rightlinetrading.com and signing up over there. Again, thanks very much for being here. Appreciate it. Not much of a day for trading. Again, I took one SPY Super System trade for $10 a contract, and I'm in USAR right now. I'm in calls on USAR. A lot of folks jumped in on the trades, the shares on that as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast on YouTube, and then we'll take some lunch.